Action and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 252. It is 3rd of June 2024 and my name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas, and with me as co-host is...
Hey everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz and I am developer advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
Excellent. And in the PnP Weekly, I always talk about the latest Microsoft 365 and the related technologies. Obviously, AI, Copilot, Power Platform, a lot of other stuff as well. And we typically have a visitor. So last time we didn't have a visitor because unfortunately we had a last-minute cancellation. We'll get the person in the show a bit later in this spring season. Before we're closing in our season, right? This is season 9 or 10-ish, and then the break is coming.
Yes, this is season 8 3/4.
Yeah, but we have 3 more episodes and then we'll go for a summer break within the PnP Weekly. This time our visitor is
Anoop Tatti. He is MVP from the UK. He's been a long time. I wouldn't say long time MVP, but he's been a long time involved with SharePoint, Office 365, Microsoft 365, Azure, and AI now. So really, great guy to talk to about all things that we do for the developers on Microsoft 365.
Yeah, definitely. Anoop is a great person. He was also with us in ECS and the European Collaboration Summit for the pre-conference developer workshops and all of that, which is awesome. Now, I guess without further ado, let's jump on there and then let's go through some articles right after that. Excellent. Let's get started on the interview section on the PnP Weekly. Now, within the intro, we had Waldek having a chat with me, and then we transitioned the chat, and then Waldek is unfortunately not here. Now we're blowing our cover. We're doing these recordings in a different days. So that's what happened basically is Waldek is unfortunately sick this morning, so he couldn't join with the interview with Anoop. So it looks a bit strange, and I changed my shirt as well. So, magic. But this time, as we mentioned, we have Anoop as the visitor in the show. And Anoop, can you do a quick intro? So you've been in a show in the past, but there might be people who don't know who you are. Everybody should know who you are, Anoop. So, but who are you?
Thanks, Vesa. Yes, I've been in the show past before. I think I still remember it was episode 150. So,
okay.
And
so 100 episodes ago. That's good. So
yes, yeah. So hi everyone, my name is Anoop, and I work as a team lead in the development team at a company called Advania. So we are based in the UK, in London.
Yeah.
And I'm also an MVP in the Microsoft 365 category since 2021.
Yeah, which is really, really good. And especially on the developer category, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's correct. Yes.
Yes. No, just kidding.
Yes.
Now, can you talk about Anoop a bit about what does Advania do? So how does your day-to-day work look like?
Yeah, so Advania UK is basically Microsoft 365. We are into Microsoft 365 consulting, or rather, our team is into Microsoft 365 consulting, but there are various other teams which look into different side of different aspects of things related to Microsoft. I don't know why I keep saying Microsoft 365 because I think that I use that term every day, so that's why it's Microsoft 365. But yeah. Our team mainly focuses on Microsoft 365 related development. That includes, SharePoint or Teams, or even some development in Azure, and recently things related to AI, so Azure OpenAI and OpenAI as well.
Yeah. What is the kind of a trend? Can we talk a bit about the trends on the Microsoft 365 extensibility and platform? Is there still a work and business in the extensibility in Microsoft 365?
I would say yes. Yeah, there is. Yeah. So in our day-to-day projects, we do work on SharePoint and a lot of SPFX projects and Teams apps as well. And on the other side, we've got an internet product as well called fresh, which is into extensibility as well. So yes, although recently there have been some projects in AI, I would say the extensibility option in Microsoft 365, we still keep working on those. And even I myself, I think I would say 50% or 60% of my work is into that as well. So
yeah. I think it's obviously AI is incredibly important piece. Now that we have access to AI in a reasonable cost and all of that, extensibility, and everybody's looking into how to use that in the best possible way. Yesterday, I saw a statistic. I can't remember where it was, but it was a reliable kind of a looking statistic. I don't know. Again, I cannot reference that, but it said that something like 2% of all software development currently is around AI. So, and that, by the way, means that 98% is not. So it's a good reminder that even though we are absolutely 100% want to take the AI more into account and integrate AI in many, many areas, there's a lot of work still in non-AI topics as well. So it's not taking over everything.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's a good number. So yeah, it's like, of course, there are, if you go onto the internet and then you can see a lot in your feed, you might see everything about AI, but there are, like you said, that statistic, like only 2% of the projects are still in AI, which is interesting.
Yep. Yeah, and again, so it depends on a company, depends on a area where people are, but I think a lot of people are definitely looking into how to get AI integrated within their work, day-to-day work. But then again, there's a lot of other stuff as well, which we need to make happen. Now, can we talk a bit about, as an example for your case, the projects? What kind of projects do you then implement? So example scenarios, what's getting deployed and created for customers currently?
Right. So one of the current focus for us is, this thing called as private ChatGPT. So wherein, of course, we can use ChatGPT in our day-to-day work, but some organizations prefer the data to be, within their tenant.
Yep.
And so for those kind of scenarios, we use Azure OpenAI, and then an interface which talks to Azure OpenAI, and hence the OpenAI models, and provides them the answers. So it is similar to ChatGPT, but within the boundaries of an organization or of a tenant. So those are the projects that we are kind of working on now. So
that's the technical definition there, right? But what does it enable us to do? So what's the value added for using something like Azure OpenAI and a private ChatGPT? What does it actually provide? Can we go to a bit behind of the business and the value add?
Yeah, sure. So main thing is, firstly, it will interact with the Azure OpenAI models, and then use its knowledge, use its trained knowledge to provide the answers. That's one of the use cases. And the other ones are, we can, because this is a custom app, we can hook it up to external data sources as well. Say, for example, your LOB systems, which are present maybe within your cloud systems or an on-prem system. So this application can tap into the data of that and use the capability of Azure OpenAI models and provide information. And another use case might be getting data from SharePoint, and then so asking questions, say, about the information that is present in SharePoint. So with the help of SharePoint indexer, we can get the data from SharePoint using Azure AI Search, and then chat with your SharePoint data as well. So those kind of use cases are being targeted by.
And that's
This.
still a highly technical answer.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. Because we're talking about Azure OpenAI models and we use those. But what does that mean? So correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just simplifying things.
Okay.
And again, it's more on having a human language or human discussion with the computer to ask relevant information what you're looking for. So rather than going to the external system and try to find, for example, relevant sales data or HR data or the HR policies, you can just directly ask from the chat, and then because it's indexed or because it's available within the Azure OpenAI, it's able to answer you in a human understandable way in text. Is that the kind of the simplification of the scenarios?
Yes, yeah, that's right. So it is as if you're, speaking to someone in natural language, and then you get the answer back in natural language from this heap of information that is present in your LOB systems, and with the power of these large language models.
Yeah, and LLMs are mainly there for translating the. Is it mainly for the natural language processing detection or the intent detection? Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, so looking on, obviously, 18 months ago, we didn't have any clue what is an OpenAI and ChatGPT, or most of us didn't. Anybody who's saying that, yeah, I was top of this, it's like most of them are lying, pretty much. Maybe it's now somewhere up to date, but it wasn't a big thing. But then in 18 months, we kind of a transition to this world where we're using this natural language processing and being super, computer understands us, and we're able to understand computer, which is magnificent. Now, the first phase of scenarios is a generation 1 scenario. So I'm just coming up with these terms, but it's all about asking information and getting information back. Are you already seeing the kind of a next generation of operations where we're asking computer to perform actions and things rather than just querying information and getting the information for us?
Yes. So I think, those kind of requirements are being asked for now. So you're right. So asking information is just doing a search, and then you get the information back. But now people want to do more of it, more than that. So, for example, do some analysis on the data they have, or get answers to some of the complex questions by doing some calculations. So that kind of requirement is now is being seen, and with these large language models or LLMs being more powerful and more capable, I think, maybe a few months down the line, 18, or in our next PnP weekly episode.
Yes, 100 episodes forward. Yes, indeed.
We will have some more details on how that is done. Yes.
I think that's that's just personal point of view. I think that's the next big step is really initiating actions and doing long-term running operations by basically saying maybe in audio and voice detection, and basically not in the writing that, hey, computer or whatever system, can you initiate blah, 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 blah. And then of course we use Azure AI and LLMs to detect the intent, and then we do operations behind the scenes. So really not just about the search, because, well, not saying that there's not value on the search and using the chat. There's a lot of value on that one, but that's kind of understandably the step 1 is the understandable next, and the next steps is super interesting what you can do on top of that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think we are seeing that in some of the in some of the apps that are being launched slowly as well, right? Wherein these kind of capabilities are made available, which is always interesting. Yes.
How do you see from your personal perspective? I know that you've been doing OpenAI functions and all of the pro development stuff, for the AI for quite a long time, actually, since the start of this AI trend. How do you see then the power of Copilot Studio? Have you had a chance to look on that one and what that provides?
Unfortunately, I haven't had a look into that yet. But
Yeah,
like I said, within our company, we have a different team looking into different things. So there
yep,
is another team within our
yep,
organization who are looking into that. However, I have looked into Copilot quite a lot. So in fact, I did a video recently with Gary and Waldek on
yep,
my experience with Copilot. So
yep,
uh, for me, the main thing I'm using as part of Copilot is the GitHub Copilot
yep,
and then Copilot for Microsoft. In my day-to-day activities, I use that to do
yep,
some searches and get information whenever needed. And yeah, that is quite powerful. When you combine that with the internet information you're using Bing,
yep.
you're like, yeah, you get the answer for what you asked for,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is really cool. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think it's is this then that we talked about this one in the industry for a long time, that is this then the death of the Google or the classic search-based engine, or is it not? I tend to move now between the search keyword search and then the chat quite seamlessly within the UX. And it's like, well, I don't want to watch all of these links. Let me go to the chat. Is it giving me a better answer or not? How do you do the same, or how do you see the future in there?
Yes, yeah. I prefer the information to be present in like summarized and bullet points.
Yep.
So instead of me going through this vast information that is present on the internet, I can just ask a question in the chat
Sure.
interface,
Sure.
get the answers in whatever format I want, as
Yep.
in in a paragraph or in a list, in a bulleted list, and then
Yep.
I get the process the key information that I need
Yep.
and use that for when needed. Yeah.
Definitely. Now let's get back on the previous discussion. Just out of curiosity, how now you said that we're building SPFX and Teams extensibility and then OpenAI and Azure integration. How does that
Yeah.
look like? So isn't the chat taking over everything, and then the intranet doesn't have any value and Teams doesn't have any value? We're moving to the chat, or is that just a imaginary thing? So how does that look in practice?
Right. That from my experience, it's like AI is still, I mean, it's still new to a lot of organizations. So there are concerns on security and things like that. So
Yep.
to uh, you know in most of the organizations, it's not like a switch that okay, let's use AI from now. So there is a lot of considerations being taken care of, and I think most of the organizations are in that phase, like,
Yep.
evaluate things. So that's why all the extensibility options for SPFX or Teams apps, people are using them, and I think you might have more stats on that, Vesa, than me. But
Could be. Could
from
be. Sure.
yeah, but from the experiences that I have with the customers I speak to, yes, it's like recently we got a requirement for a Teams app as well. So
Yep.
yeah, it's like there is some ask for integrating AI as well in some of the customers that I have worked with,
Yep.
which is interesting. So it's like using Teams with AI. So
Yep.
in fact, we are using Teams AI library for that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's those elements are quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's now called Copilot SDK, AI SDK. So I
Right.
think it was
Okay.
renamed in build. So, but again,
Okay.
this renaming and things happen so fast, and there's so many things and an announcement always in build that it's hard to stay up to date on and always
Yes.
what it means. Now that Waldek is not here, we cannot confirm that. Waldek would be able to confirm
Okay.
that for sure.
I see. Okay.
Now, how do you? I know that you had, for example, SPFX and AI and Copilot integrations done with your customers. Are they in use? Is that a thing? How do you say that the future of SPFX and portals is portals still a thing? Because now we have a chat where we can go and ask things.
according to me, I think portals are still a thing. I myself, go onto our internet every day to catch up on a few things, and then process that information. But having said that, I don't know. In the future, it might be like a chat interface for your internet, which might solve some of the requirements of the people using it. But yeah, portals are still a thing according to me, and you need internets. Yeah, definitely.
I think there's even if we think about this from a corporate communication perspective, not just thinking this out loud and talking as I'm thinking this, but from a individual user perspective, we can of course use the mobile and use the chat to access the latest information within our work. However, from a corporate communicational perspective, where it's important that the company informs the employees, the default chat experience isn't really optimal on that one, right? Because you cannot push, at least for now, news articles and updates directly in chat, and it would start feeling a bit strange if we would do that. So every single time somebody opens up a chat, it's like, oh, here's the latest news. Well, technically, you could do that, but it's an interesting, dilemma for the corporate communications, because there's even some level of a legal responsibility of the company keeping people and employees up to date and also being connected with the company. And the only way we can be connected is with sharing information and informing what's happening within a company. So having that channel is still, of course, important as well.
Yes, definitely, because it's like the information is there when you visit the portal, rather than for you to find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the company company's interest versus the individual interest, and of course, depending on a use case, depending on the moment of a day, the actions are different. How do you now, related on all of this, how do you see then Viva Connections? Is that something which is we are seeing being used? Is that something which is getting interest? Was it the hype and then it went down? Because that's kind of an interesting into corporate communications scheme as well.
Yeah, so I myself have worked on a few Viva Connection ACEs or adaptive card extensions for a couple of customers. And then after that, my attention moved on to this, these AI projects. However, yes, from the experience that I have had with customers, there, Viva Connections, I think, is being adapted from the people whom I spoke to. Again, I personally haven't used, I use it less frequently, but it might be you again. I rely on you for stats, Vesa, on this one. So because my experience, like I said, with customers has been recently mostly on AI related projects. So maybe if you ask someone else within our organization, they can provide more information on how your connections is being used by our customers.
Yeah, I think we announced and built interesting scenarios related on Copilot extensibility in the Viva connection, and also AI integrations there as well, and also using the Viva cards directly in Copilot chats as the initiating action, which is super cool. More on that obviously coming up within upcoming months and upcoming semester. I just opened up my Viva connection, and I have to say that I'm actually using that surprisingly often. So the statistics what we have based on quick personal analysis, we have research on all of those people as well, so I'm not going to go too much on there. But I was just looking into the stats pretty recently, and seems to be that those customers who adapted that are starting to use more and more Viva Connection. So there's a barrier of entry on understanding what is this and what's the added value to have my Viva Connection in a mobile or any device. And then when you start using it, it's kind of a clicks, and then you're like, oh, this is actually really useful. I can access all of the corporate information from any device, all of my personal relevant company details, personal information directly from a one dashboard. To be fair, of course, I'm employed by Microsoft, so the number one thing which I tend to every now and then go and have a look on there is my stock awards and details on that, because that, payment information is always interesting, but it's just kind of personal information. I have no idea where could I access that information otherwise. Well, technically I might remember the URL, but within our dashboard, I can access the payment information. I can request holidays. I can ask feedback for perspective, which is basically asking somebody to evaluate me, stock awards, so what's coming as an AI payment in the future, and all of that. So it's really nice kind of a collection of all of the different applications. So I don't need to worry about where those are. So, and that works really well. So.
Correct. And even in that case, like, information is there for you, isn't it? There's no need for you to,
yes.
chat.
I don't need
ask.
to ask. I don't need to.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't. And that's one of the. So of course the AI is getting smarter and smarter. How do you see that intent resolution? Because I think that's one of the key challenges from a development extensibility perspective, is to make sure that the AI understands the intent of users. And yes, they're incredibly smart. If you go to ChatGPT, you can have a sophisticated discussion with this math-based answering machine, which is interesting. It doesn't actually think, it's based on everything in math. But how do you see the resolution to work? Because I think one of the challenges, what we keep on hearing from people are like, well, I have this extensibility, I have this blocking, but it doesn't initiate that because it doesn't understand that that's the blocking what I want to initiate. Are you seeing similar challenges, or is it getting better?
I think it is getting better, and it's like, this thing called as prompt engineering. I think you might have heard quite a lot about that.
No, not at
all. And even I'm sure the audience has. Yeah. So it's the art of prompting, isn't it? And it's the art of how we construct those instructions to generate the intent. So that's where we we have to get involved, and then it's like help AI to help us.
That's a brilliant discussion point. So funny enough, this will be, for anybody who's watching or listening, this will be pretty awkward, because again, we recorded the intro and outro and articles before this discussion, and in the article setup, there was one article which is especially interesting, where it was explicitly called out that prompt engineering is dead, the long live prompt engineering. The whole point of that article, it's in the blog post notes, is the fact that based on studies, normal end users and even sophisticated developers cannot build proper system prompts, and if you use the AI to modify and optimize your provided prompt, it will get significantly better. And if you look on what the AI is optimizing your prompt on, it looks really weird, because it's more like, how would anybody as a human come up with this stuff, but it works better statistically than the end user provided prompt. And one of my kind of long-term discussion points with the dawn of this AI is that we had a massive kind of a push on everybody will be prompt engineers. And it's like, my figure said, no, I don't think so. Engineers, yes, we need engineers, we need developers to be prompt engineers, we need people like Anoop, like you, to understand how prompt engineering works, but not end users. We need to do something else than try to train every single end user as a prompt engineer, because that doesn't scale. It's just an impossible scenario. Now, having somebody like you, Anoop, specialized on prompt engineering, and then having a text box where end user adds things, and then you have included the system prompt, which is then defining all of the rules and capturing a scope more efficiently. That makes sense. Am I wrong, or am I right, or what's your thoughts on the thinking?
No, you are absolutely right on that, because say, for example, when you are having a normal conversation with a human being, you don't use prompt engineering and come up with a question such that the other person understands. It's like you speak in natural language, and then the other person processes that, and then answers back. So that is intelligence, and artificial intelligence is also trying to be on similar lines, isn't it? It tries to process the information, but as if we ask a random question in like a and then in those cases the intent might not be understood. So
Correct.
which is fine, which happens in a normal conversation as well. So that's where, if we tell the AI system that the context is so and so, and then try and help it in certain way so that the intent can be generated, and then the question can be answered. So yes, the ultimate aim, I think, I don't know this, the ultimate aim might be you try and ask it something, and then it can generate it is powerful enough to generate or understand the intent itself, and then provide the answer.
Now, this comes as we're talking this, but it's more on, so when I'm having a discussion with you, Anoop, I have a lot of context. I know who you are, what is your background, what is the things, what you demonstrated in community calls, where are you employed, what is your title, why are we having this discussion, where are we, where you're sitting, where I am, who's my role, and all of that stuff. When you're having a discussion with computer, it's just a text box. They don't have that context. They're missing that ultimate, the network of additional information. And with Copilot, obviously Microsoft 365 Copilot, we're decorating your prompts, and that's the grounding things with all of the Microsoft Graph additional details and all of that. But that's still a super small subset of things comparing on what I know about you, Anoop, and why we are having this discussion, and that provides the ultimate context. So I can kind of draw the intent of your discussion much more efficiently. I can see the MVP black with behind of your screen. I can detect that you are multiple times MVP, and that changes again my way of analyzing your intent, which increases my understanding as a intelligence of the context. And AI doesn't have that unless we provide that information somehow for it, which is interesting. And for now, I think we're pretty far from that kind of understanding on, without explaining where we are, just naturally adapting. I'm here, this is Anoop, so therefore, So that kind of information is missing.
Yes, yeah, you're right. So if we want to use an AI system, like we have to provide, like Vesa said, some more context to it so that it can help us to achieve the requirement. Yeah. And that's why I think it's like there are like AI specific applications, isn't it? So I mean, an app which is related only, which uses AI, but only in the, say, travel sector or in the finance sector. So there is some context there. The user might ask something about.
How do you see actually that one? Now we're drilling on a bit of a drifting on different discussions, but it's okay. So how do you see, is it the future of AI? We're looking into having a more generalized, Microsoft 365 Copilot style of a chat where you go and enable the things what you want to have, or are we looking into having a more GPT style OpenAI approach where you will go to a specific chat so that you have the context and the system prompting behind that particular application, so to say, or that particular chat, which obviously it depends on, it's a preference thing as well. So it's not necessarily either or.
Yes. So, I mean, currently where we are, I think it would make sense to have, the scope defined, saying, okay, this particular chat or this particular app is for, it interacts with, this LOB system of yours, or these 2 or 3 LOB systems. And here's another app for for information from the internet or something like that. And the reason I say that is, in that way, the information is divided and you know where to go to find the information. Of course, all of those can be done in one app, but it would make sense to have different different apps for different purposes. If not different app, at least in that same app, different areas. So that it'll help us as well, right? We organize things into folders, or in SharePoint we use.
You should not do that. Don't do folders. But anyway,
yes. I mean, I'm saying in our PCs, but in SharePoint we have content types and everything. So yeah.
Do we? I guess we do. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, for me at least, it's like if we have the separate elements.
Yeah, I think it's humans are more natural on thinking the context as an isolated. I go to a certain application, I go to certain things. Having that ultimate Uber app is hard to visualize, maybe. So
Yes. Yeah, it's like yeah. So again, it depends on the organization's requirements as well. I believe they might say, okay, we just want one app, one text box that should do everything. So
yes.
yeah.
Well, anyway, let's not even speculate on that. Now, let's talk a bit about you are an MVP, and you said that you've been MVP since 2021, unless I forgot about
that's
that
right.
one.
Yeah.
See, memory still works. That's good. What changed when it got to be an MVP? So how did you get to be an MVP? So anybody who's like, I want to be an MVP, how do you get to be an MVP, and what changed to be an MVP?
Yeah, so it's mainly the helping the community. That's what I like quite a lot, and I've been doing that for many years now, and that helped me in becoming an MVP. And apart from that, as an the motto of the community, sharing is caring. That's like perfect, because not only do you share with the community, you also learn from the community, and every day I keep learning new things from the community, which always fascinates me. So I have been contributing to the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community repositories, which I love, and then I also maintain one of the repositories now. So all that helped me become an MVP, and since becoming an MVP, I have started to attend a few product group calls in which I come to know information, and we can provide feedback to Microsoft as well on those elements. And being part of the MVP community, it's really good. We have access to a lot of resources, and we get to meet new community members every day, which is really interesting.
I think that's definitely one of the key values, at least for me as well. Still being here for a long time, is get to know new people, get to know diverse background people who have a different way of thinking, and be like, oh, that's an interesting dimension or interesting way of approaching things, and learning from those. So because otherwise we always get stuck on our own historical learnings or all of that. And also finding peers, finding other people who love the community and are technically interested on sharing their things, and being interested and learning from them, and getting to know more people and getting to know more friends. So which is great.
Yes, learning is like one thing which happens every day with the community. Like all the community calls that I attend, every time there's something new for me to learn, which always fascinates me.
Yep, absolutely. Now, pretty recently, you were also in the European Collaboration Summit in Wiesbaden.
Yes.
How was that? So, how was the experience?
Yeah, that was very good experience, because for two things. One is it was my first time doing a workshop with yourself, Vesa, and other MVPs. That was very interesting. And then I also had a session on OpenAI function calling. So yeah, the conference was very interesting. There were for me, I found that the sessions, 50% of the sessions were focused on AI/Copilot, and the other 50% was on different aspects, which was a good mix. So I could attend, I could choose and attend these sessions that I wanted. And it was a very big gathering of the community members, and thanks to all the organizers and the speakers for that event. a really great event, and got to meet a few new community members as well, which is always interesting, and having chats with them, and also speaking to someone directly from Microsoft as well, like yourself. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, and I think it was really well organized. I'm just on the content team, so I'm not on the organization team, but it was really well done. So props for the organizers for sure. And these are great opportunities for anybody who's watching, who's going like, hey, should I go to the in-person conferences and all of that? They are awesome to get to know people, because then you within the upcoming years, when you start going in these conferences, or when you start contributing in open source or community areas, you will then get to know people, get the connections, you have coffee with them, or you even go to the dinner after the conference evenings with them, and then you get to know the background. So it's that networking event. When I started in Microsoft many moons ago, I hated networking as a intentional thing to do networking, because I'm not a salesperson. It's just not a natural thing for me to do networking. But then doing networking in a way where, well, we're just similar-minded people in the same room, let's have a chat. I'm fine with that. But having that sales-oriented, hey, who are you? Let's have a talk. It's like, no, go away. So
yes,
but there's a lot of great opportunities to know people more, and then having those connections. And then whenever I have a question related on OpenAI function calling, I will call Anoop as an example. Now that we have a good connection, so good.
Yes, I think that's how we met as well, Vesa. I remember it was in Orlando, in the Ignite conference.
Okay.
So that's when I happened to meet you for the first time, and the other community members. So meeting someone in person in these community events is, it's really good, and then you can grow your network and have interactions, and ask Vesa all the questions that you have about SharePoint.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely welcome always. And of course there are free conferences as well for anybody who's watching or listening is not aware of this. That we'll add a community days link on the chat, and community days is one centralized location where we're trying to aggregate all of the different collab days, events, and IMS. I think they changed the name less this week. Anyway, AMS events and all of the other events in a one centralized location, so people know what's available. And some of those events are free, some of them have a cost, but at least people know what's available across the world, which is super important.
You were in one recently, right? In Italy?
Yes. Yeah. So that was a bit of a kind of an exception even, because Paolo Pialorsi, I was a good friend of mine since MCM training, where I was the teacher and he was the attendee, but we get to know pretty okay, and he started engaging with our open source stuff and community stuff back in 2014, which is a few years back. And then he had a 25-year anniversary for his company, and he combined that with Collab Days Italy, and there was some other conference kind of emerged on that one. I can't remember the name. So I promised to drop by for a one day. So, and then the celebration, which technically is just having a coffee and cake and having a chat with people. So, but that was nice. So
nice, yeah, good.
And I think they had 720 registered attendees. So it's not necessarily small ones. Some of these events are smaller, like it could be 50 people, it could be 100, it could be 700 or 1500. So it's pretty cool to see the interest as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Nice.
So, and before we close up, what's happening this week? So, anything interesting on your table? How is Anoop's first week of June looking?
So, again, continuing on that private chat GPT project this week.
Yep.
And then a bit of SharePoint as well this week. So working on a web part. Like extending the text web part, so I'll be doing that this week. And
what needs to be extended in text web part? That's interesting.
What
needs to be extended on the text
web? I mean, it's like a particular requirement that has come up from a customer in which so some of the text needs to be highlighted, and then and then it needs to have an expand button. So you click on that,
like a Viva Topics style of a thing. Okay, got it.
Yes, yeah. So we are looking into some options for that. Like how we can achieve that. So it's like a like one of these requirements which I have seen come up recently. I haven't. It's like I don't think this will be part of the text web part in the future. So we are creating a custom component, and that will be part of the PnP repositories once it is complete. So it is an interesting requirement. So it's like you have this text and you want to know more about that. So you might have seen in some of the applications that you highlight some text and you get a context menu. But this one's like a pre-built context menu. It's like there. You can the plus button's there, and then you get more information on that. So yeah, exactly like that. Viva Topics. Yes.
Yeah. It's almost like wouldn't the application customizer work? Anyway, so I start thinking immediately. And
yes, those are the options we are thinking of, and then we need to finalize on one.
Yeah, definitely. That would be DOM hacking, but let's not go to that discussion. But anyways, there are always advantages and disadvantages in both sides. So that's cool. And just to recap on me, I'm just watching my calendar, what's happening. So I'm in a good position, well, kind of a nice situation where the spring conference season is now done. So now it's catching up on things and getting everything ready before the summer vacation starts. So especially in Scandinavia, the model is that we do not take vacations during the winter time because it's dark and cold. Anyway, now it's 28 degrees Celsius again outside and sunny, like all the time. So all of the vacations are being kept on July. So I'll be having, I think, 4 or 5 weeks of off pretty soon, which is really nice as a bit of an exception. So should be good though. So I need some time to rest as well.
So are you going somewhere, or will it be in Finland?
Mainly in Finland, actually. It's mainly in Finland also because of the dogs. So traveling with the dogs is outside of Finland is always hard, but it's good that they're there. We use cottages. There's Chilean cottages in Finland by the lake because there's 180,000 lakes in Finland, which is mind-boggling number. But then we do actually drop by in London as well. So with the kid. So catching up on what's happening there. London is probably the most easiest city to travel into, and there's always something to see and do. So it's a nice city. So
yes, that's really nice.
London or Barcelona are probably the easiest ones. So having a 12-year-old or teenager traveling with, those are the most convenient and easiest ways to travel. So.
Good to know.
But London should be good. London should be good. Anyway, I guess that sums up for the show. We were not planning to have a 45-minute chat, but it's okay. So that was a lot of interesting. Jim, time flies when you're having fun. But thank you, Anoop, for joining, and hopefully Waldek is better for the next interview and next setup. But thank you for joining. We'll get you back in, what was it, in 100 episodes. So. on seeing what's happening within the AI at that point. So that would be interesting.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Vesa, for this opportunity. And it's always nice talking to you on the PnP Weekly. Yes,
as well. Thank you, Anoop. Super cool.
Cheers.
Excellent. Thank you, Anoop, one more time for the interview. That was really good. And thank you once again on ECS and joining there and doing really, really cool stuff. So highly, it's good to have people who actually build on this stuff on a daily basis to actually share their learnings. So it's more credibility than PMs trying to have credibility and sharing their.
Well, I think there are two sides to it, right? So on one hand, we've got like the vision on how product, like the thinking that went into building a product, right? And that can come only from us at Microsoft. Then on the other hand, we've got the how do we actually apply that in practice, and that can only come from folks who work on a product, right? And that can be partners, the customers, or even folks at Microsoft too, but more of the field teams, right? So, and actually the best part is to get two of them, because then you're gonna have like this combination of how the product was envisioned, how it's actually being used, and based on that, maybe how it will be eventually improved or changed.
Yep, absolutely. That's a really good point of the discussion as well. So, and having that diverse experiences across the whole world, because people are building different things in UK or in Netherlands or in Scandinavia or in India or in Singapore or in Australia or New Zealand. Let's just in case mention all of the countries within the world, so nobody feels bad. Or in Brazil.
We'll be here for a while if you want to mention all of them.
197, it's okay, or something like that. Cool. I guess it's time to jump on the articles. So let's do that. We do have not a massive amount of articles this time because we went through a lot of build announcements last week. But let's go through some of the updates within the last week. So first of all, on the Teams blog, only one new blog post, which was around updates to the Town Hall in Microsoft Teams and Teams Live events. So updates on that side. We use Town Hall internally in Microsoft quite often. So this is a great feature and cool to see investments on this side as well. Now on the SharePoint blog, we had introducing SharePoint video pages, and this is a great feature as a feature. Caitlin Helms as a feature PM, obviously a lot of engineers and people behind of the actual implementation of that. But awesome feature on how can we integrate videos more efficiently on SharePoint portals and then potentially surface then from Teams if you want to and all of that stuff. But really focusing on that video format, and now we can actually start creating pages from multiple locations where the videos are being stored. Well, the videos are nowadays being stored in SharePoint anyway, but then we have the stream, how to view them, but then in stream we are able to, for example, start creating pages on the content directly from there. So we also recorded a nice quick video explaining what this all means together with Caitlin, and that's available in the YouTube channel. Good. On the that wasn't intentional. On the Copilot Studio side, there was a Copilot Studio blog post delivering organizational value with Microsoft Copilot Studio. Have you had a chance to have a closer look on Copilot Studio already? You're doing Copilot extensibility, but not the Studio stuff.
Well, Copilot Studio is in a way extensibility as well, right? Because like you have this whole spectrum of things you can do, and you can use it to extend Copilot to your needs in a sense that you don't really. I mean, there are multiple ways in which you can extend it, and Copilot Studio allows you to do several things, right? From building plugins and extensions to building copilots and all that, right? So it's really interesting, and it's interesting companion to the Power Platform and low-code / no-code toolchain that we already offered in the past, and now it's also expanded with AI.
Absolutely, really very cool stuff, and it really makes it easy to modify things, and you have that visual, mapping and drawings to change the behavior of Copilot, which is really, very cool as well. And more investments on that side as we announced in Build. Now, May 2024 updates on the modern controls and theming for the Power Apps. Good that these are finally starting to look a bit better. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff and guidance available by community already on styling and make the buttons and everything else a bit more efficient. But now we're starting to introduce more and more investments also on the natively within the Power App side, which is great. So you're able to make beautiful looking apps as easy as possible. Otherwise, on the Power App side, introducing Code View in the Power App Studio. There's a big push with Marcel and many others on making Power Apps a bit more approachable for pro developers. And what it means is that we get more and more hooks and capabilities of having pro developer views on the Power Apps as well. So you're able to have a more control on the behavior, which is great. And a lot of investments on this side was also announced in the build. This one's interesting. I wanted to actually show this one in here first. So Community News Desk is a new location, a centralized community news location. So this is relatively new, but really Caruana and Caruana's team is starting to push community updates from this location. And there's now a new blog post, blog platform available in here, which is then focusing on global community initiative and many, many other community-focused topics. So you'll see more and more announcements related on community events, for example, event recaps from European Collaboration and Cloud Summits in this location. Seems to be a pretty familiar.
I know this guy.
Yeah, I know that guy as well, and I know that person. I know those persons. So okay. Anyway, so that's actually good location to subscribe and be part of in the tech community to stay up to date on what's happening within the community side. Among other things, super important to be aware are Orlando Community Conference videos. So the sessions which were recorded are now available. We're gradually rolling them out every single Tuesday. A bit more videos are coming out. But the keynote, for example, with Jeff and a few other people joining on Jeff is now available. This was originally done in April 13th. A lot of great demos and excitement and capabilities available and demonstrated in there as well. So that's Naomi Moneypenny, Michelle Barrett, and Derek Snyder who were joining Jeff on the keynote. So really great keynote for sure. Also, as mentioned, the event recap from European Collaboration Cloud Summit is available. So what was actually covered, what was there, what was discussed, what are the different topics and focused areas, and also the keynote itself is actually available in the YouTube here, where the first 1 hour is actually just setting up things. So it's not being, because it's not live streamed, it's a bit of they started live streaming 1 hour before. So the first 1 hour is basically us walking around and trying to fix things and making sure that the final things are all set up. But then it moves into the actual keynote. So that was really good. And the keynote, I think it was a lot of fun. I think there was a lot of cool things related on the history, where we are coming from and who we are. And let's see if I can actually find the picture, what I'm looking for Laurie. Where's Laurie's picture?
I think if this starts, shouldn't it be right after? I don't know.
There we go. Nope, super close. I saw it. There we go. So we had this approach where we talk about a little about the history and where we're coming from, and that is a direct quote from Laurie Pottimeyer when she was Laurie is there when she was a bit younger, saying to her dad, and one day we'll see each other in the TV when we're talking on the phone.
Jetsons.
Exactly. But here we are, Waldek. So
yes, here we are.
Cool. CLI had a new version also available. It's version 7.9. Really cool here as well. Anything you want to call out from here?
Yes, I want to call out 2 things. One that is mentioned here, the other one that it isn't. So you might need to open new articles, right? So first things first, new version of CLI for Microsoft 365. The one and only tool, command line tool that allows you to manage your Microsoft 365 tenant and SharePoint framework projects. And in this version, we introduce new commands such as search, commands around Viva Engage, SharePoint, and so forth and so on. The other thing that I wanted to mention, so definitely check it out. There's also a ton of improvements that aren't included here, but they make CLI just so much easier to work with. The other thing that I wanted to mention, which isn't here, there's another article on the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community blog. We have new maintainer in our team.
Yes, that's actually a really good point.
This is the article. Yes. So yes. Matthijs worked with us already for a while, and we decided to invite him to join us on a team to help us manage CLI, evolve it, process PRs, and so forth and so on. And we are excited to announce that he is now together with us on a team. So definitely,
really cool.
Kudos and applause. Definitely for having him on a team.
Yep, really cool. And this is for anybody who's watching on I want to be part of these teams. I want to be part of the crew. I want to coordinate. This is how it's actually being done. So join on be engaged. Join on functioning existing projects. For example, CLI for Microsoft 365, PowerShell, SPFX solutions. Start helping with the PRs, offer help for the existing maintainers, and then you will be getting invited as a maintainer, and then you have more access on things as well. So thank you, Waldek, for driving forward on this one in the CLI side. So there's a common request on people always asking on, hey, I want to be involved in. It says absolutely yes,
get involved.
Please get involved.
Yes,
it's not us blessing that you're involved. It's showcasing that you are involved, you're interested, and then we'll get you more access on things. So. Good. Martin Linkstu, also one of the maintainers in CLI for Microsoft 365, had a new blog post on debugging production code in SPFX. Thank you for this one. Super important blog post, actually, to be able to understand how this actually works and what happens behind the scenes and how we can do things in practice. Super cool. And then you are able to do debugging directly within the production, not in the not in the workbench. A local workbench doesn't exist anymore. Not in the workbench, but on the live code, which is super important to be able to understand, to be efficient. Marcus Muller also had an SPFX-focused blog post using SharePoint Framework to assign delegated scope permissions to a site. Interesting. So basically, have a SPFX solution which can be used then to set the site selected permissions. So it's complicated, but manage site selected permissions.
Basically to have a UI that you can use to manage permissions. And I think that's something that we already talked for, I think, as long as SPFX became a thing, to be able to also extend the admin tenant or tenant admin side with options like these to basically empower admins to do more beyond the console, right? Because of course you can do all of that in PowerShell, but being able to do it in the UI, especially for things that are more involved, is so much easier.
True. And that would go way beyond the SPFX as well, because if the Microsoft 365 Admin Center would have a configurable admin UX pages, which would be isolated with these applications, that would be really cool. It's a challenging discussion. Let's put it this way. Internally, it's always like, but why would you do that? And then we always explain that, and then the people change, and then
why would you want to have integrated custom reports within your admin side or custom functionality to manage your tenant? I don't know.
Yes. Why would you? But it's hard for those people who are not familiar with what partner ecosystem does to understand these scenarios and options, and also the opportunities what all of this would actually bring. So it's a really interesting thing. Now, a few videos we're going to run through relatively fast. So Shane Young had a advanced Power File Uploads feature, an example and storytelling on that one. So how can you upload files in the Power Apps using Power combination with Power Automate? It's really cool. Steve Corey focused on the click to Copilot feature, which we announced in Build with a few videos and teaser videos and all of that. We will actually demo this in upcoming community calls as well, as we go through a lot of the announcements in Build on the Tuesday calls. So that should be really cool. Looking forward on that one as well. Now, Paolo Pialorsi in PSS Tech Bytes had a Microsoft Copilot Studio interaction with external systems and services. So how do we get the Copilot Studio to talk with your LOBs and all of that, which is really great and typical scenario for sure. Interesting limitations for now, but all of these are getting adjusted. So quickly just immediately looked on the 1 megabyte of data limitation, which is 1 megabyte is a lot, but
well, in a single action for API data, like what are you expecting to get, right? So
yes. That's true. Now, Synpraxis Consulting had these are really great sessions where they're walking through separate scenarios and capabilities within Microsoft 365. And this time they talked about the SharePoint Brand Center, which is rolling out now in preview, coming out more broadly. I think it's now rolling out worldwide, which is really cool. Andrew Connell, that's a focused looking face. I'm trying to find a. Okay, fine. SharePoint Framework 1.19, what's available in there. So talking about what's there, what's the value, what you're able to do with that one as well. So 2019 was relatively small update for SPFX, much more significant updates in the pipeline for sure. So it keeps on getting a lot of investments internally in Microsoft, which is great. Sudharshan had a blog post related on how to use PnP React controls list view with React.js pagination control. And that's basically the list view control is this one. And then that's the pagination control. And how do you actually combine them within your experience, which is really, really cool. Thank you, Sudharshan, on that one. Message Center guys, Daryl and Daniel had a latest version, episode 324. We're trying to catch up, but we can't, because I guess if they're releasing once a week, we can't really catch.
They gotta stop for a year or two.
Yes. But a lot of updates on the Message Center as well, which they go through super valuable video show and blog post, super valuable podcast and a video show walking through all of the updates, what's coming out from Microsoft. Now, Juliana De Luca had a update on how to use the new Microsoft List features. So latest updates on Microsoft Lists. And thank you, Juliana, on that one. Awesome features there as well. And then just a reminder, as mentioned, the keynotes and other videos from the Microsoft 365 Community Conference in Orlando are now available. We do have a playlist where people can actually come to directly. We'll put a link on the chat or on the notes somewhere in there, and then people get access on that easily. We'll make sure that all of the new videos are getting listed within this playlist, so you can easily access them whenever we roll out new videos.
And we also have available the videos from Build. They are now available on demand as well.
True. That is true. The Build videos. That's a really good point. Why didn't we call those out? I will add a link to that on the chat. We're doing it now. That is true. And then as a final point, we wanted to spend a few minutes on this one potentially, but we're a bit running out of time, but it's okay. So this one is interesting. AI prompt engineering is dead. Long live AI prompt engineering. So this comes from the perspective, I think we talked about this one in the show as well. I never thought about prompt engineering to be an end user feature or capability. And what's interesting in here is that we're now seeing articles where they're basically now proving that to be also potentially the case. So it's not about end user created prompts, it's more on AI created or fine-tuned prompts based on the end user input. So it's interesting to see where the industry is heading with all of this. So
yeah, and it's all, and I think it also plays down to the point where we humanize LLMs, where it's like,
yes,
well, they speak and they think. Well, no, they're actually doing math. And
yes,
once you understand like how it all works, then you kind of get to understand, because like if you look at these examples, like the auto-tuned prompts versus the prompts that are created by a human. It wouldn't occur to you to write to it that way, but it turns out that this auto-tuned prompt that might not make any sense or might look weird, inefficient to us, turned out to be yielding better results than the clearer and more human-friendly prompts that we would write. So again, it only proves the point that where we are now, it's still very much, we're talking to a machine, and it's very much like there is a reason why these, like the same thing where you write an app in a programming language, like it's, yes, you can read it, but it requires you to know a bit to understand things like, variable and loops and all of that. And this is still very much like proof that you're talking to a machine and you got to optimize things for it to be able to give you the result that you need, as opposed to, no, let's disregard that. Let's just pretend we're talking to a human and everything will be fine. Like we aren't there yet. And even to the point where we say, like, you know what, you can express your need and then use LLM to auto-tune to translate your intent into an LLM understandable phrase to get the outcome that you need.
True. That it's an interesting direction, and for sure. I'm not saying that prompt engineering is a bad thing. We need prompt engineering. We need end users who are specialized on prompt engineering and understanding how LLMs work. But from an end user perspective, I don't think we'll definitely are more and more heading to a direction where it will be buttons and actions which we will initiate, potentially with a small input from the end user. But then behind of the scenes, we have somebody who has created that super sophisticated prompt, which is fine-tuned and polished, which is then decorated with your end user prompt. So end users will never need to understand the details of this. So,
and I mean, maybe even your prompt, before it reaches like the final stage of LLM, maybe it will be auto-tuned first. It will go through a few iterations to get translated. Basically the same way, like you program something, like you code something, you compile it to machine code for it to be able to run on your box, right? So maybe this will kind of be the same equivalent where you express something, you express your need in the language you understand, and then before it will be run, it will go through several steps to get more translated to the language that LLM needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about any of this, even the Microsoft 365 Copilot is a brilliant example. We are asking things from the Copilot behind of the scenes. The actual prompt is huge. It's just massive. So the end user input is like a 0.02% of what is getting sent to the LLM, because it's being decorated by the system prompt and grounding data and all of that stuff, which will make actually it valuable. Can the end user be expected to write all of that? No. That's the job of the specialized prompt engineers who are working with Microsoft. So it's not an end user. My point always been it's not an end user thing. Yes, if you're interested in prompt engineering, you can create a career in LLM optimization. Absolutely. Does every single developer need to do this? I don't think so.
Well, but I think it's gonna take the same route as we have with building apps, right? Where in the past we had punch cards, and when you think about how you would code in assembly, you need to know about memory registers and all of that. Nowadays, if you write something in C#, you absolutely don't. You might not even have to, for many apps, the business apps that don't require high performance and all that. You don't even know about garbage collection, memory management, because the language and the runtime are doing that for you, so that you focus basically on the things you need to do for your app, and you're done. So I think it's going to be the same thing, where we'll abstract more and more away. It's going to evolve, making it so much easier for us to get the results that we need with little work.
If you think about something as easily approachable as Power Apps, it is abstracting so much behind of the scenes for website, but it is incredibly powerful. So we're just simplifying things for people to be more efficient, and obviously that will happen with LLMs and AI stuff as well. It's just my thing is, it always rubs me in the wrong direction when somebody says, I know better, this is blah 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 blah, and absolute, that absolute statement that everybody needs to be a prompt. No, they don't. Stop it. It's just let's not make absolute statements, because it's not necessarily always true. So
absolutely, you should not make absolute statements.
Yes, indeed. And well, it's the super classic example. It's the best practices for X and Y and Z. Come and see best practices for whom? Based on what? Based on
in which context?
In which context?
Do they make sense? Yeah.
It's just, yes, in certain scenarios there are best practices, 100%, but it's based on whose observation the best practices might be different. So it's that absolute statements is something like no, let's anyway. I guess it's time to close up. Thank you, Anoop, for joining on some really cool discussion with you as well. Thank you, Waldek, to discuss on all of the latest news, what's happening within the ecosystem. Thank you. Always fun as well. We have 2 more episodes coming up before our summer break, and we'll continue somewhere in the mid-August after that. I don't know when. We'll figure it out.
When we're back.
Yes, we'll be back. Cool. Thanks, everybody, for joining or watching or listening, whatever is your chosen method, and we'll be back within a week. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you, folks.